Hi, and thank you all for joining us today. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited today because I have two of my favorite people on the planet with me today. And we're going to talk about something really exciting. And the topic is unlocking the mysteries of remote viewing and dreams. But first, I want to say welcome and thank you all so much for being here. This is the Ethereal Encounters Unveiled channel where you can discover your own truth. Today, we're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Please join us in one of the various chat rooms. Connect with our guests. I'm sure they would love to hear your comments and questions. And of course, we have with us today Preston Dennett and Dolly. Thank you guys so much for being here.
It's an honor. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is going to be fun.
Yeah,
Definitely. So rather than me read your bios and introduce you guys, I would love it if you could just, for the folks that don't know who you are, which I'm sure the majority of people do, but just in case, we could start with you, Dolly. Just give us some of your background and then we'll transition right into Preston. Tell us who you are, what your life has been all about, whatever you feel like saying, just go for it.
I am a generational lifetime contactee. I'm fully conscious. I have been that way since I was 14 years old. Up until that point, I wasn't using my abilities to their fullest. When I was 14, I made the decision and went whole hog for it. I have spent most of my life in and out working with ETs. I was trained to pilot craft by them and have flown. Right now, we are here and I am grounded while I'm doing what I'm doing here, and ETs really aren't here right now. But I love teaching about using your abilities, love talking about it. There's so much out there to learn about this and to help everybody awaken. That's what I'm about.
All right, I guess it's my turn. Let's see, I'm number 5 of 6 kids in my family. Grew up as a complete skeptic, didn't believe in life after death, ghosts, UFOs, or definitely not remote viewing. Did believe in dreams, always thought dreams were interesting. That all changed. I did have some psychic experiences growing up, but kind of explained them away. But in 1986, I was 21 years old, found out UFOs were real, and started becoming a UFO researcher. And right around the same time, and I don't think this is a coincidence, more of a synchronicity, I started having out-of-body experiences. And that certainly introduced me to the subject of remote viewing, which I have had some experiences with. And since then, I've written, over 30 books now, more than 100 articles, and had all kinds of really cool experiences, not only with UFOs, but out of body and remote viewing and precognition and quite a bit of stuff, actually. That's the nutshell intro of who I am.
That is a nutshell. I've read some of your books, Preston, and they're outstanding. I highly recommend them. And of course, I have Preston's website running across the screen. So be sure to head over there and give it a visit. And you can find him on social media as well and check out his books there. So let's get started with what is remote viewing. I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know. So either one of you can, or both of you, please, and thank you, can handle that topic. But just give us a good 30,000-foot view of like what remote viewing is, what the purpose of it is.
It is literally the ability to send your consciousness out to a remote location anywhere in the universe, in our world, and pick a target or a wide view of something and let your consciousness open up to it and see it for what it is using your abilities. It takes a little bit of practice to learn. It's not that hard to learn. And once you do get it, it actually helps facilitate your psychic awareness and abilities as well. It's like learning to walk. psychically. It's awesome.
Yeah, I would just add that it's a natural human ability.
Yeah.
Probably most people have had it happen and perhaps not even realized it. I agree with Dolly. It's not a difficult skill to learn. You don't have to be a psychic or a yogi or a monk. And it's very effective. It's been proven to be effective. Gosh, what else would I add? I think it's a form, sort of an out-of-body experience. It's related. They're like kissing cousins, so to speak, but definitely different.
So how long has this been studied or observed? How far back does it date where people started talking about it, writing books about it?
I think Russell Targ started writing and teaching, and he's a PhD, and he's been very involved ever since then. He's still alive as far as I know. So we're going all the way back to the 40s, easily the 40s. It became a practiced event for the CIA in the 50s. They started training people back then and looking for people who were capable of doing it right away. And it is still an ongoing process. If you are in some form of government, there are government agencies that have remote viewers, and it's spread all over the whole world. Every country has their own remote viewers as well. And then there are private remote viewers who just learned it on their own or were taught when they were young and expanded to it. And there are societies as well. I mean, it's a very interesting, very big event in the world that everybody should know occurs, literally.
I think it goes way, way back into history too. Yeah, it's only been written about fairly recently.
Right.
If you look back into people who are along the pathway of spiritual enlightenment or spiritual growth, it's a natural ability that manifests. I think you might say it's closely related to clairvoyance, but certainly this is something people have been experiencing for millennia.
Yeah, you could say the oracles of old were remote viewers. They could see things as well that way.
So is this connected to your extrasensory perception? Is this using ESP just in a different format?
It's not a different format. All extrasensory perception is one thing, and it's you using your pineal gland to access consciousness and remote out your own consciousness to where you want to look. OBE is you leaving your entire body and going somewhere out of body. And there's a practice to that, and it takes a longer amount of time to do, actually. It's a more qualifying for you to get to that point that you can OBE, consciously OBE. Consciousness is on all the time. I get weirded out sometimes because people would refer to their subconscious, meaning it's inside. No, it's not. Your consciousness is not sub anything. It's who you are, and it is constantly on and aware all the time, and it's all around you, expands from you and into you at the same time. Learning how to walk. You get up on your feet and you start toddling or you crawl, right? Consciousness, aware consciousness, will allow you to take your consciousness from your mind and move it and go see things. There's no distance between any of us, even throughout the entire universe. And your consciousness is part of that network. We're all together, all one, all at the same time. So what you're literally doing is you're opening the door to your consciousness and moving it out to go where you want to go and look and see what you want to see. And it involves all of your senses, all of them. You can smell, see, hear, feel, taste, everything remotely conscious. The best remote viewers are the ones that can smell the air or taste the air and tell, where they're at. They can feel it. They can touch things with their minds. They can see things unbelievably well, and they can watch it in real time from their consciousness while you're in the body. That's how that works. It is the first open door of extrasensory perception's ability. We remote view as small children. When you're looking for your mom and your baby in the bed and you're trying to perceive where is mama, you're actually remote viewing where your mother's at. And they've taken pictures of babies who, wherever mom is in the house, the baby will turn its head to that spot and cry out because they know mama's over there. They will also know that mama's in the yard or mama's in the bathroom or whatever. Very, very small babies can do this, even up to 2 and 3 years old. And can tell mom, I see you, when they're not in the same room. This is first extrasensory perception outletting, because your consciousness is who you are. It's who you're aware from. The body, you're just driving the body around. So that's how that works.
Yeah, and I think what Dolly really, I just want to underline it, is that distance is an illusion.
Right.
And this remote viewing works on the principle of non-locality of consciousness, because people have a tendency, I think, skeptics and materialists, to think consciousness resides in the brain, but it doesn't. That is not really what the mind is. We're much greater than that. And there was this interesting study, this is a little bit of a tangent, where they were teaching people remote viewing, and psychics had a little bit of a harder time getting into it because it's a slightly different skill. The people who did really good were complete beginners, because it is a sort of a great stepping stone to other abilities, and it's not hard to do. And it's really interesting because some people will start out seeing, and they might only see colors, or they might feel things, or they might get impressions. And this is a real difficult step, I think, for beginners, is because you have a tendency to want to interpret what you're seeing. Say, well, this is a ship, or this is a building, or this is a person. No, you just want to basically get the impressions. That's what I found really difficult in the beginning, because I feel like I'm sort of guessing here.
Yeah.
As you practice with it, you start to get more confident. And then it's really cool, because it's almost like having a little camera out, and you can put it pretty much anywhere.
Right. All you have to do is focus. You become more clairvoyant when that happens. You clairsentient as well. You start to see the forest for the trees. You start to pick out individual things, and you see in depth that way. We're in 3D here. Remote viewing tends to go 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, and people get confused about that. So you have to explain to them that you're walking through things and seeing things outside of the dimension that you're living in, because your consciousness is outside of that. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it takes a while for some people to get a cue of what the picture is.
Now I want to get Preston, you and I had a conversation, which I really recommend folks read your book on out-of-body experiences, which was great. We had a conversation about them, and it was such an in-depth conversation. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but when you have an out-of-body experience, you're basically asleep. I mean, I know you said you can be awake, right, and have an out-of-body experience, but I think you and I talked about a lot of yours when you were asleep. So what's correct me on that, of course, but what's the difference, so that folks know, between an out-of-body experience and remote viewing? So can you contact people, and this is for both of you, of course, while you're remote viewing, or is it just pure imagery? Maybe you could go into some detail about all of the above.
Yeah, well, Dolly could probably talk a little bit more knowledge about that, the end part of that question. But as far as OBEs, in the beginning, it's not at all uncommon for a person to have them while they're sleeping at night. But as you progress, you can go out of body from a fully conscious waking state. And if you're really good at it, you can be walking around and driving and talking to people. I'm not quite at that point, but there are people who are quite literally bilocating and actually manifesting a physical body in various locations on this planet. So this is a ability that has almost endless growth possibilities in terms of astral projection. And remote viewing is very close to the same thing, except you are awake. You can do this when you're sleeping. That's not really how I think people look at it. I think this is, generally speaking, done while you are awake, and maybe perhaps, yes, in a meditative state. But if you're really good at it, you can just kind of look around and instantly get impressions. As far as communicating, I'm not sure that that's the best vehicle to do it with, but remote viewing and astral projection are different things.
Yeah, they are.
Because with astral projection, you are basically inhabiting, if you will, or moving into a different, this is so hard to describe, because I think there's a misnomer, like we're leaving our body and going into another body. In a way you are, but it's all one body. This is all you. So it's more of shifting your attention to a different part of your awareness. I'm not sure we even have the best terminology to accurately describe it, but remote viewing shows how flexible our consciousness and our awareness is, because we do have the ability to go across the universe or around the next corner. I mean, you can do this while driving. Like, I think there's a police officer up ahead. This is, how I've seen contactees do this over and over again. Contactees, as a general rule, are pretty psychic. And this is one of the abilities that when you start developing your psychic abilities, this is one of the first that manifests, remote viewing. But no, I don't know that people actually talk to each other. I know Dolly has remote viewed and people see her as an orb.
Right. That's the point. It's the energy of mine, of my consciousness, and it's all light. I'm not taking the ethereal body with me. I'm remoting out of that. Your ethereal body stays with your body because it holds it together. It's part of the energy that holds you into the body itself, is your ethereal body. Okay. It doesn't leave you until you pass away. And then it goes with your consciousness. Your consciousness picks it up and takes it home. So when you're remote viewing, you're not taking the ethereal body, you're taking consciousness only. And ET does it all the time. One of the reasons that I've become so good at this is because when we fly psychically. And part of that process for me is that I remote view into a space with the consciousness that's the craft, and we work together to fly. I'm in consciousness with this entity, and the craft also becomes my body at that point, even though my body's sitting there in a chair. Everybody who sees me remote viewing sees me as an orb. I'm not white, I'm blue. Some people are blue. Some people have different colors. I've noticed that. When you see an orb and you think ET's nearby, it's ET remote viewing you to get a good look at you before they come for you. Okay, we call it hopping. We hop to where we're going and we case you all out and make sure that everything's copacetic before we come in, and then we'll come down for you at that point. So it's all remote viewing until that point. And I'm already in remote view mode while I'm flying, so it's really easy to do. It's either me or Talata that will jump down remotely and look at the place where you're at, see who you're with, what's going on, and decide yay or nay whether we come in or not. And it's one of the processes they use while contacting people. Most people don't realize that it's not just us doing it or ET. Our ancestors are people that we love. When you pass away, their consciousness sometimes doesn't go where it's supposed to go yet. It hangs around for whatever reason. And you'll see orbs. Those could be people you know and love checking you out too, or hanging around with you, because their consciousness is in remote view of you, if you want to look at it that way. They haven't really left yet, and their consciousness can see and hear and feel everything, and you see them as an orb, or you get feelings, so you can smell them, because your senses are heightened enough psychically that you can pick up on that. It's complicated. There's a lot going on. Once you jump into the pool of being able to do this, it starts to make sense to you, and actually how we learn to exist in this world becomes what you learn how to exist outside this world. And it becomes a natural instinct for you to go here, there, and everywhere and figure it out for yourself. It's a self-learning process, seriously self-learning process.
So Dolly, so folks can know and understand your background a little better. You are you don't like to use the word abductee. So
no, I'm a contactee. Yeah.
Contactee.
Yeah.
All right. So, and from a very young age.
Very, very young. Yes.
Were you physically taken, or was this done through remote viewing?
I physically went with ET. It is a very physical process. Everybody who's had contact has been in physical proximity to them, and they've worked with us, or we've been around them. They will come into your dwellings. They will come into wherever you're at. If you're on vacation, they'll find you that way. Yeah, it's a physical experience. They can contact you psychically, but you have to be at a certain level or point where they can do that on a regular basis. They never ever really leave anybody here. They're conscious of all of us, and they watch all of us. That's absolute. There are enough of them. Trust me, that's going on. But it's always a physical experience. I think Preston's got plenty of data to prove that as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But sorry, Preston, I just have one more question for Dolly.
Yeah.
How did your remote viewing experience work with ET?
Well, I was working and I was kind of born being able to do this. I remember being an infant and being able to look around and see things from above when I was laying down or half asleep or half awake. When I was about 5 years old, I'm really, really psychic, and I was driving everybody crazy in the house. And my dad heard about a program on Homestead Air Force Base. They were checking out your abilities, measuring your psychic abilities. So he took me, what the heck? And what he didn't know and I didn't know was that they were looking for children with exceptional abilities to be remote viewers. And they almost sucked me in. My dad had to come and pull me out. But I was, once they tested me and they found out that I was, who I was, they took me into their program and I began learning remote viewing from their perspective, from what they understood what it was. And they taught me a very succinct method, actually. And it kind of helped me in a weird sort of way, because they gave me tools that I didn't have at that young age to understand what it was that I was accomplishing. And when I left that, I did not stop doing it. I kept practicing and practicing. And as ET was working with me, that was a requisite of contact with them, in that when I was going to their schools, we would remote view from there as well. And we were taught more of the scientific, checking off boxes with it, and being able to measure our abilities and be tested on them. And not only for them, but for us, I know how to measure my ability. And that was a great tool they gave me as well. We should have that. We should be able to teach that to our children. And I'm hoping that everybody's waking up enough to seek that out, figure it out.
Okay. Do you still remote view? Well, this will be for both of you. Do you remote view till today? And if so, for what reasons?
Well, Preston does it all the time. He's always thinking about things, and he'll go here and there. I know he's doing it.
Hey.
Preston, tell us.
I mean, we all do this. I think, people might chalk it up to imagination. And then suddenly you're like surprised. You're like, gosh, this is exactly the way I thought it would be. It's because you remote viewed it. I remember the very first time I did it was I'd heard about remote viewing. This was very early on in my research. And so I got together with my brother, Mark, his wife, Christy. She does the artwork for my books, and their kids. And we're like, okay. So we did the protocols, which are sort of this double blind way of doing it. You assign a person or a date or a location, and then you give that a number. And then you put that in an envelope and you shuffle them all up. So you don't know, necessarily what the target is. And so we're all doing it, and Christy was really good at it. And Marco was, we all had some hits. And finally they hand me the envelope and I'm just holding it. I open it or look at it. I'm just like, okay, I'm not really getting anything here. But gosh, it just feels like a completely desert landscape to me. Like there's nothing growing there. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm doing this right, but I'm getting nothing. It just looks like dead landscape. And they pulled out the envelope and matched up. It was the moon. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
We all laughed at that one. So that was my first experience. And I kind of just left it on the shelf for a long time because I was pretty busy. But currently, yeah, I'm absolutely doing it. I'll lie in bed. And it's funny because it starts to happen spontaneously. And sometimes you have a spontaneous out-of-body experience. You're not planning it. Just suddenly the vibrations come and off you go. And remote viewing can be like that if you're just relaxed and you're starting to visualize. The ability to visualize is crucial for psychic development. And I can't underline that enough. So if you want to develop this ability, imagine a red rose with little bits of dew on it. Imagine the blue ocean. I'm sure everyone listening here can immediately see it. A field of white ice with little white sparkles. A field of yellow flowers. All of this. Because this is how you sense, psychically. So I'll be just lying in bed, usually is when I do it. And I'm wandering around the house. And it's funny, I'm usually dragging along the ground. I'm like, and I'm trying to control it, but I feel almost like a dog, sort of just, and almost always, yeah, I don't know why it's so low down, but that's where I'm working on right now, is the ability to sort of lift up and move and steer the camera. But it's so cool when you get these clear images and you're like, wow, this is just like having a camera in your head and you can go look at anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Is daydreaming a form of remote viewing?
It's intentional. Daydreaming is an intention tool. When you daydream, most people go to what makes them feel good about themselves or what they're hoping for or whatever, and you're setting intentions in your mind. And when you do that, you visualize, as Preston says, what it is you want. And you can manifest when you do that. It won't be exactly as you think you saw it, but it will come. It'll eventually show up in your life. And that's a type of remote viewing, in that you're projecting forward of yourself what it is you hope to accomplish or what you need, or what you desire. Okay. And so you're not changing anything, but you're bringing circumstances to you. And it's the universe giving you what you want or what you need. Literally. That's why they say, be careful what you ask for when you daydream in, because you might just get it.
I think daydreaming.
When I was a kid, I used to daydream all the time, and I was always getting yelled at. But my daydreams were like always somewhere else, like I was traveling or doing some weird thing. But that's why I thought there might be a connection.
You could have been doing that. That might have been you were walking out the door for that. Where daydreaming, well, I'm going to go to this island or that island, or I'm going to go to this mountain or that mountain, or the Eiffel Tower even, or the Alps. That's not really daydreaming. That is remote viewing. I wouldn't even call it daydreaming at that point.
Yeah. I think we have a tendency to sort of downplay the power of imagination. Like, oh, you're just imagining. Imagining is a great tool.
Yeah.
Here, I think, is perhaps an accurate analogy. Daydreaming is to remote viewing what lucid dreaming is to an out-of-body experience. So those are sort of parallels. And by that, I mean, when you're daydreaming, yeah, you're probably out there sort of remote viewing, but it's mostly your own projected consciousness and images you're seeing. Whereas if you can sort of move beyond seeing what you think to what is actually out there, which is exactly what's happening when you're lucid dreaming. You're out of body, but it's your own thought projections.
Right. I would try to use the right imagery and calling it what it really is. Daydreaming can be intentional, wanting something and desiring something. Okay. You're dreaming of what you want, need, or desire. Okay. We do that when we sleep. Our physical mind does that constantly all the time. We have to tell it to shut up. But remote viewing is, I'm going to go and look around. I'm going to take a trip. I'm going to take a journey with my mind and go here and there and everywhere. And if you keep those terminologies in your head straight, you'll know what you're doing when you're doing it. There's no guessing at this point. You understand that I'm remote viewing, or I'm in a dream world and I'm trying to figure out what I want, or I'm dreaming at night and not lucid and during an OBE. These are things that we need to clarify, totally clarify, and understanding the terminology of it, and which each one of those things really simply is. If you lump everything together, you're not going to achieve a really good result while you're trying to work this stuff. You have to understand what you're saying or thinking so that you know what you're doing when you do it, literally.
Yeah, we all have a stream of consciousness that's going on constantly. And you can call this daydreaming. There's multiple layers to it. There's the song you just heard. There's all the things you've put off and have to do. There's the shows you just watch. There's layers of consciousness. And you're basically dreaming all day long. And you go to bed, and your daydreams become your dreams, and you fall into them, and you're dreaming. It's this stream of consciousness that's always there.
Right. So let me separate something here for you. Dreaming is your physical mind thinking, literally. Okay. Consciousness is who you really are communicating to your physical mind. Your physical mind is a closed-in system that can only do what it's taught to do or understands. Okay. Consciousness is way above that. That's why it's not a subconscious. It's consciousness itself, who you are, and it's trying to communicate with you. When you go to bed at night and you go to sleep, your physical mind is going to go directly into REM state, dreaming state. Okay. Your lucidity or your consciousness can only interrupt that if you allow it to. Okay. Which means open the channel. And that's when meditating before OBE is so important, or calming yourself down, or doing whatever you have to do to get that focus and that lucidity so that you can understand the difference between the two. One of them is you're directly in your head, and the other one is you're outside of your physicality and you're in your consciousness. Okay. That's important to understand.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there any dangers to remote viewing? Because I remember when I first came upon this topic years ago, it was always spy oriented, like governments were using them to spy on other governments and facilities. And I heard that while this one agent was remote viewing, he actually was intercepted by another remote viewer. They found out who he was, and then they did what they needed to do. So
that's unbelievable poppycock. That does not happen. No, your consciousness is perfectly capable of defending itself at all times. It is the most defended part of your existence. Nothing and no one can touch you. They can't rip you from your body. They can't abduct you. Nothing. Okay. You are an independent, autonomous consciousness, and you have full power on in that respect. Now, an agent who's remote viewing you, if you're in remote view, you're protecting yourself already. You're already locked down on what information is coming from you. You're not going to give yourself away. And a professional remote viewer knows this. They know that there's a chance of somebody saying, hey, let's have a conversation, and realize, oh my God, I just gave myself away. But they can't take you, attack you, or anything unless you're willing to let that happen. And most remote viewers for like the CIA and spying and all that are very, very good at it, and they do not give themselves away in any way. They can't be intercepted. They can't be stopped. They can't be plucked from their body. None of that is true. None of it. We are very powerful, powerful beings, and our consciousness is the most powerful of us. And this is all poppycock that people have heard and just glamorized or made fearful for people to think about.
Right.
Let me put it to you this way. They want you to fear it to some extent because you are capable of remote viewing. You are capable of knowing the truth about things and seeing the truth. And if everybody just did it as rote, guess what? No more lying to anybody.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's dangerous. You know, the thing is, these are natural human abilities.
Right.
And it's dangerous not to be able to do it, because you can have danger coming right at you and you wouldn't see it because you're not operating with your full awareness. That's much more dangerous. The only danger, I think, is it starts to become a big part of your life. And you're like, okay, you might disregard, doing housework, doing other things, or trying to make money because, you're focused on something that's much more interesting. And I think it's actually more valuable, honestly, than money.
Yeah, I would agree. So even for a newbie doing this, there's no real hidden dangers or anything like that.
No,
it's like out of body experiences. We're all already doing it. We truly are. This is how our awareness is made to do this.
Yeah. The only place that you're in danger physically is here by other people who are here.
Right.
Okay. We're the idiots who have mastered that and not understood anything else. And it saddens me that people migrate those ability, the idea of being that violent or that stupid into the actual world. It doesn't exist on the other side. You can't hurt anybody over there. A ghost can't come and get you at all. That's you being afraid because you were trained to be afraid of that. And then you can either allow it or allow somebody to get to you or whatever, but they still can't hurt you. There's no physical damage to you whatsoever. You're fully autonomous here. And the only people who are damaged by anything are people who are like my lab, taken in, tortured, that kind of thing. They can sort of break your body to the point that you're willless at that point. But your consciousness never, ever gives up. Never. It will hold you intact until the very, very end so they can get the hell out of here, out of the body. Okay. And people have to understand that you can break my body, but you cannot break me. I am existing whether I'm in the body or not. And if you're going to take me to that point, well, I'll just walk out for you, bye. I'll come back some other time. There's no point in anybody fearing their soul being ripped out, torn, asunder, any of that. It doesn't exist. You are that powerful consciousness, and we're all autonomous consciousness. In other words, you have all will on yourself. Okay. And just because you're in a third dimensional body right now and some other idiot can come over and bang you up doesn't mean that you're going to lose anything. They can't control who you really are. And that's what they want you to believe, because they'll try to take energy from your body from you that way. But no, your consciousness is all yours, baby. Belongs to you and you alone.
That begs the question then, and I know this is off topic, but what about demonic possessions? Is your consciousness still, if either one of you would care to answer, is your consciousness still within you? Because I believe that they do take place.
Consciousness exists outside the body. Okay. It operates through a connection through your heart and your pineal gland. It is not that part of you. It exists outside of you. It's communicating with your physical body and your physical mind. When you're possessed, people who are possessed, it's your physical mind that's being taken over by an entity that has weakened you to the point or made you stupid enough to allow it to work on you that way. Your physical mind, not your true consciousness. That's what, but it can't take the connection to your heart. It's solid. They cannot stop that. Okay. And your consciousness is outside of it. And believe me, it's fighting whatever that demon is to kick its butt out. That's why we should teach our children these things so that they don't have an entity come at them that will break them down. Okay. And most of the time it's people who are sitting right here coming at you that allows that to happen. I'm not kidding you. You know, a demon can be a physical entity as well. And, they're not that powerful, which amazes a dog out of me because, we're capable of repelling that, pushing it out and telling it, get away, or you won't like me very much. We need to know that we have that kind of power and kick back at it. No good, anybody who does these sorts of things will tell you that I'm helpless. You're never helpless. You can help yourself and push it away.
Yeah.
And if you teach from the beginning, nothing can come at you that way. There will be no evil dogging you,
I don't think demonic possession is fully understood.
Right.
I think that we still have a lot of questions to answer about it. There's no doubt it takes place. The literature on this is extensive. And I've got books and books on it. But it usually starts with a horrific haunting. And it really only reaches the full stage of what we would call possession if a person has in some way allowed it.
Right.
Perhaps through the use of black magic, use of a Ouija board, or drugs, perhaps. There's cases of this. And I'm not so sure that it's correct to look at it as if the entity is actually inhabiting your body as much as it is influencing it. Because if you look at demonic possession, there's also the flip side of it, which is channeling. And channeling is generally considered to be positive, and the messages that come through channeling are universally positive. It's all love and light and spiritual progression, whereas the demonic side is basically trying to destroy the person.
Yes, absolutely.
So it is real. And I think what's happening is the same way perhaps your loved ones can come and influence you to a certain degree. They will say, turn right here, stop the car, stop the car. And if it's real dangerous, they will come in as hard as they can and get you to stop the car. And you're like, gosh,
absolutely.
Don't even feel like I did that myself. It's almost like I was possessed. What possessed you to do that? We have all these terms in our language, which kind of reflect the reality of, yes, something is going on here.
Yeah.
Have you heard of people taking their animals with them in the astral travels? Yes, absolutely. Our dog Duchess, I was out of body once and she came loping at me out of body, jumped on my bed and said, my name's Duchess and I love you. I'm like, oh my God, the dog just talked. It was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Your animals are aware and out of body as well. Yeah. They're free entities as well, and they exist like we exist. They're the same thing. Only they're an animal. Yeah. Yeah. I also have an animal that stays with me after death. She passed away. I have a service dog that passed away, and she is with me constantly, and she won't leave me until I cross over, and she'll go with me at that point. Yeah. So it happens. People will tell you that, oh yeah, my cat's still around. It still meows. I hear it. You feel it brushing up against you or whatever. you know, I can hear my tippy tips whimpering sometimes for me. Look down, you know. And
I've heard that too. I've heard, like, before, when my other animal died, I had a pug, and I could have swore he would like follow me up the stairs because I would hear his little feet tapping. So weird, but I've had those kind of experiences.
I had an out-of-body experience where I went and I saw our deceased pet, Clyde. And it was so cool because he was hopping around and glad to see me. I come back to my body. I'm like, that was the coolest experience. The darn dog was running around my bed. I'm like, I'm losing my mind. Went to work and the dog's running around my desk. And I'm just looking at everyone else like, does anyone feel this? Because my dog is here. It was really cool.
It is. It's good to know that they're with us always, you know, definitely good to know. So, what do dreams have to do with, if anything, with remote viewing? Can we remote view in our dreams while we're dreaming?
It depends on how lucid you are. There's the kicker right there. You know, either the door is open or the door is closed. If you're dreaming inside your own mind, no, not at all. But if you go in with the intention of being lucid and having a lucid dream where you go to OBE from your lucid dream, yeah, you can jump out that way. Absolutely. But you go from the lucid dream into OBE. You leave the dream behind and you're out. Okay. It's the door again. You're going through a door and you're leaving your body. You're still attached to it electrically. Okay. But you're just walking out. You're going to go take a stroll, a ride, a swim, a fly, whatever. And, but so it's a technique that some people do use. They go into lucid dreaming and then from the dream, they walk out that way. It's easier for them for whatever reason. I don't recommend trying to focus on that because OBE is something that you should be able to do on demand command. You don't have to go through a lot. Once you get used to doing it, you just walk out. You know, there's no more electrical activity going on that you feel, no pull, no push, no nothing. You go from being in your body and you walk out. And there's levels of OBE too. You know, Preston wrote about this, eloquently wrote about this.
There's levels of dreams too.
Yes, exactly.
I think we need to just go back to a baseline of what dreaming actually is.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought all these books on dreams because this is how I kind of got into it. I started having dreams about my mom coming into my room after she died. I'm like, this is really her. I don't understand this. I thought dreams were the garbage of the mind, which is basically how psychologists, mainstream psychology, looks at it. You're venting. And so what I did is I wrote down every dream I ever had, literally, that I could remember, and continued to keep a dream journal and interviewed all my brothers and sisters. And I'm like, tell me all your dreams. Everyone I knew, I'm like, I want to dig into your dreams. And I found something really interesting, that there are levels of dreams, for sure. The first would be what we would call venting dreams, which is, psychologically very much accepted. And you can see this with children, even little pets. You will watch a scary movie and then you're dreaming about it. And this is because you're processing and dealing with the emotions and all the imagery and all the things you went through that day. That's the lowest level of dreaming. And above that is what I would call psychological dreaming. And this is where you're working through your issues, whether it's greed, anger, lust, or gluttony, or laziness, whatever it is. And the vast majority of people, and the vast majority of dreams, over 80%, are going to reflect either your fears or your desires. It's going to be something you're afraid of and are running away from, and it's going to be something you want and are running towards over and over again. If you look at your dreams, I guarantee it, you're going to see this. But it goes up from there, because almost every dream you have has an anomaly in it, something that's not quite reflective of reality. And these, I think, are little cues sent. This is, I think, hardwired into our psychology to wake us up. So that if you do real critical thinking and real critical reflection and look at your dreams, you will see, like, there's a window there that's not supposed to be there. Or this person's hair is long, or this is not my couch. Something, a bicentennial penny, that kept turning up in my dreams. There are no bicentennial pennies. So this is designed to wake you up into lucidity. And that's the next level of dreaming, where you actually wake up and you're realizing this is a dream. A dream is nothing more than your thoughts. That's all it is. It's your stream of consciousness. It's you paying attention to what you're thinking. That's what a dream is. And then, so you're having lucid dreams. You're like, okay, now I'm aware of my thoughts, and I'm such a great stage because you're walking into a fantasy world kind of, and you're like, wow, this, you can do whatever you want. Lucid dreaming is so awesome. But you reach a point beyond that, which is precognitive dreaming, true dreaming, or dreaming true. And this is when this is connected to remote viewing, because you can actually put your consciousness out and see events all over the world, past or future, connect with people, all kinds of things. Dreams that have the ability to absolutely give you valid information.
Right.
But people who are profoundly psychic don't even dream at all, kind of. They move beyond that. And when they go to bed, they don't fall asleep. They don't lose consciousness. They don't slip into the stream of consciousness. They're not even lucid dreaming. They walk out of their body and they're still awake. And I've done that only a few times. It still happens.
Wow.
But
don't we need to sleep though, Preston? I mean, don't we all need REM sleep?
Physically?
Most people, okay, I'm 100% wide open conscious. Okay. I will REM sleep for 1 to 2 hours a night. And then after that, I'm 100% awake. But even in my REM sleep, I am aware. I know everything that's going on around me in the house. I hear everything. I feel everything. I see everything. That's because my consciousness is wide open talking to me, but I'm allowing my body and my physical mind to relax and sleep and order itself. Okay. 1 to 2 hours. That's it. That's all I go down out. Otherwise, I am fully conscious and I know everything that's going on around me. When I do wake up and I have nothing better to do, I'll just go out. I walk out, and it depends on what's going on around me, what kind of experience I'm going to have. Because sometimes people come and visit me, and I'll visit them back. Go with them. Sometimes I'm on a quest for something, and I'll go somewhere I intended to go, or I have a need for some sort of healing. And then there's a type of OBE that Preston does experience where you seek guidance. Okay. Now, I know people talk about they have guides, and you do, but I'm past that. I don't have guides anymore. I guide myself. But when I do, I open up and I say, this is the question. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I really want to understand. And it comes to me that way. It's the universe going, okay, we're going to have a conversation, and it will. And I'll download at that point. It'll give me answers, whole answers to things. There's no doubt in my mind what I'm learning from it at that point. A lot of people have intuition to the point that they're already downloading now, but the awareness part of it, or the light bulb, doesn't snap on for a while. And then one day they wake up and they go, oh my God, I understand this now. Oh my God. And it's because they were taught, but their foundation wasn't ready for them to snap to it. And then it does. There's huge moments of learning and existence involved in this. It's like becoming from a baby to a teenager to an adult. Think of all the experiences you had your whole life in this physical body and how much you've learned. Well, you got the other working on you as well. So it's a vast existence that you could be living if you wake up to it. And it's very cool. I want to say something. I saw a question come up there, and it's real important to me to say something about it.
Sure.
No one and nothing can harm you, period. Your consciousness at all, your spirit, your soul. That belongs to you. They can't eat your energy. I want you to understand why.
Oh, that was the vampire question?
Yes, we are pure light. You don't see it because you're in the third dimension where gravity heavy here, and you can't see all your protons lit up, okay? A lot of people see auras, and that's really good. That's the first step in seeing everything there is, but otherwise you don't. And so you don't understand that you're pure light, okay? Nothing evil can touch you because evil is attracted to light. It has no light of its own. It's darkened itself to the point, or almost extinguished itself, that it's drawn to any light it comes in contact with you. And all it wants to do is be in your presence, and it'll do anything to get your attention. That's not feeding. That's hoping for salvation, literally. I'm not kidding you, because you become a kind of a beacon to them, or whatever it is. And I want people to understand that that's what that is. If something's annoying you and coming at you and after you, it can't harm you in any way. You're way too powerful for that. And this is where we have to learn to stop being afraid. We have to learn that forgiveness and doing unto others as we would have them do unto us. So if you meet evil, you greet it back with, I love you. What do you need? Can I help you? Okay, that kind of thing. You'll shut it up so damn fast because it is aware that you're aware at that point, and it's either going to want what you can give it or not. There's no feeding off you like a vampire whatsoever. None. None. It's just attracted to how light you are.
Well, if you give off a lot of fear during a demonic haunting, it can escalate it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's going to pop you with wanting your light. But that's not
Right.
feeding off you. It's just trying to get into your light because it wants to be light again. I mean,
Right.
think about it.
One of my first remote viewing experiences, well, when I started really getting into it, was, I'm doing astral travel, and I'd heard about the lower realms, the hellish realms.
Mm-hmm.
And Marilyn Hughes talks about going there. Some of the other really advanced astral travelers. And I'm like, this sounds interesting. I wasn't ready to just OBE to it, so I remote viewed, and it was very vivid because suddenly I'm looking down at people, and I'm trying to get their attention. Right?
Yeah.
They won't look at you. These are people who are absolutely wrapped up in misery or anger, or they're not happy people, depressed. All kinds of situations. And after doing that, I did OBE directly to some of these people and kind of got the same experience. It was just much more enveloped in it.
Didn't you say you ran into three of them? Three of these
Yeah.
entities? I remember that conversation.
I would have done what Dolly said, protect love and light. This was my first experience with people coming at me. I'm like, bye.
I would have been
But later, I did go down to a very dark, low-level realm, and there were these people who started flattering me, like, "Oh, you're so great," and I'm looking at them, and that's setting off alarm bells. Flattery is all well and good, but to me, it's a warning sign that someone's.
Well,
trying to
yeah,
get
you can
something out
tell
of
you can tell when it's genuine and when it's forced. You can typically.
Absolutely.
I want to ask both of you about energy vampires because that's what they call them. But here's the thing. You walk into a room and somebody is there and they're just sucking the life out of you. I mean, you just feel like this person is just draining you of their energy.
You're allowing that to happen. What you have to learn is that you got boundaries and that this is done. We're done. I love you. I'll do anything to help you. If you genuinely need help, I'll even try to help you when you don't ask me for it. But right now, this second, back off. Go to another room. It's like telling your child, go have your hissy fit somewhere else. This is inappropriate behavior. And that's how you draw attention to inappropriate behavior. Because that's all it is. It's inappropriate behavior. Period. The end. And you have to boundary them to do that. You can love somebody. Oh my God, you can love somebody, but you got to have boundaries because you don't allow their crap to influence you in any way or drive you nuts so that you act like an idiot yourself. That's boundarying emotional.
Exactly. It's a great exercise for spiritual development. As wonderful and helpful as it is to hang around someone who's super spiritually advanced, because you can do this out of body and go meet enlightened masters. It's like, wow, and you start resonating with them, and it's all like, wow, you're moving up to their level.
Yeah.
The same thing happens when you're around someone who's not okay.
Right.
And this is your opportunity to say, you know what? I am going to be confident in the way I feel. And if you've ever dealt with a narcissistic personality, it's very difficult. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And they're feeding off your energy for sure, but you are allowing it.
You're allowing it. It's not really feeding. They put it this way and it drives me crazy. Okay. What you're feeding is the tantrum. Okay. What you're giving energy to is allowing them to completely be an asshole continuously and not stop. Okay. And only think about themselves. They don't think about anybody else but themselves. And a reason a narcissist becomes a narcissist is for two reasons. One, you have a pathological problem and it actually sets you up for it, but it's also learned. There are two types of narcissists. Okay. And the ones that learn it had a parent or somebody who acted that way and taught them to act that way. Okay. And they take it through life. It is unacceptable behavior. You got to remember that. You're not feeding off me. You're trying to get a reaction from me.
Right.
Okay. And that gives you license to keep being the asshole. Don't do it. Say no. We're done.
This is
bye-bye.
For spiritual growth. That's how I look at it.
You feed off of me.
What about empaths? What about empaths though? Because there's many of them And sometimes like you can, I mean, I even know from my own experience, like if I go shopping and it's crowded, sometimes it just feels like you can just feel everybody's energy, and it
Because
gets
you weren't taught to set boundaries.
right.
You have to teach yourself where your boundaries are. An empath can feel everything. I'm a wide open psychic. Trust me, I feel everything. Even in the room here where we're watching people talk back and forth, I can feel all of that as well. But I boundary myself. In other words, I say, this is going to be over here, and I'm going to look at it, and I will experience what they're saying, but I'm not going to feel every bloody thing that's going on in their head. I refuse. I boundary out. The more you do it, the better you get at it, to where it's a natural reflex. Okay. If you let something annoy you to the point that you're reacting negatively to it, you haven't set the right boundaries for yourself. And it's all relatable, and it's all still the same thing. An empath is perfectly capable of boundarying that kind of stuff and seeing it for what it really is. If you're all upset and everything, you're the one allowing yourself to get that way. And you need to ask yourself, what do I have to heal in here to make myself strong enough to say no? Okay.
Yeah, this is a spiritual precept, detachment. You know, this is something that is taught in a bunch of different. I'm just going to pop up this question from Leah because it's relevant to this. Is it icky sometimes if the person you're viewing is low vibe or mentally ill? Yes. And sometimes I feel like taking a shower. And I do. I absolutely will. Because it starts to rub off on you. And I think this is empathy, because we're all empathetic.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't
You
help
set the boundaries. Yeah.
You know,
you set the boundaries.
We wouldn't cry when we see a little puppy lost or something, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, our heart, we're all so connected to each other.
Right.
So this is why I think detachment is something that's taught in most spiritual disciplines.
Then there's one other thing crucial to all of this, okay, is your ability to tell yourself the truth. Your ability to tell the truth outside of yourself as well. You have to live in a constant state of truth to be able to have that kind of ability to boundary things away. Because the reason gaslighting works on people is because they don't know what their truth really is. Okay, they can't tell yet. Okay, and they're not paying attention to that. It's a real good foundational ability that you have to employ. You know, we're not here for no good reason. We're here to work at whatever it is we're here to be, and to learn whatever we're supposed to do, and that takes work as well. And we have to identify for ourselves what's working for us and what's not, and why. Okay, that's important. Psychic ability is wonderful, right up to the minute that you walk into the wall of, why am I reacting this way? Or why can't I get past this mountain of something that I'm trying to do? And it's because something innately in you isn't operating as well as it could, and you need to fix it, heal yourself first. You know, a lot of people say that I'm very, I want to say it nicely, I can be very overpowering or overbearing.
You're vehement. Okay? That's the way
vehement. Yes. You don't. Right. It's not that I am that way. It's that's the way you're perceiving me, because in the society that we live in, that's discouraged. Knowledge, absolute knowledge, wisdom is nobody has it. Nobody knows where it's at. Nobody has anything. We have my truth and your truth, which everybody, there is the truth. Period. The end. No. And if you're psychic and you're conscious, you can see that and hear it and understand it. You go, oh my God, okay. The difference is that there are people like me walking around this earth who are wide open conscious, have that kind of extensive learning, okay, in this body, in this lifetime, and can speak vehemently about what they know to be truth. But nobody wants to recognize that this person is talking from truth and giving examples and giving proof.
Truth hurts, especially if you're
hard to learn. And so I say to myself sometimes, maybe I should tone it down. And then my consciousness goes, nope, tell them the truth. It doesn't matter. You lay the seed for them to pick it up, because they're not going to learn from me anyway. What they are going to learn is that they'll remember what I said and then operate it on their own and see if that's true or not. That's the whole point to this. My truth and your truth might differ slightly in understanding and knowledge, but I don't tell you I have a truth and you have a truth. I tell you there is the truth. Well, you need to figure it out.
The problem is, Dolly, you have a wall of truth, and it can come crashing on people and crushes their belief system, and they will run because no one wants that.
I know. Well, yeah, but eventually they turn around and go, wait a minute, that might have been a good thing. That's
it is a good thing, because it's no favor to anyone to let them walk
around in misery
and delusions.
Right.
And that's
I
not doing any good.
we all suffer from some level of cognitive dissonance. I mean, we're raised with a system of beliefs, and that's what the awakening is about.
Right.
You have to fight your way into the light and into the truth.
That's what open-mindedness is. You open your mind. You don't keep it closed. You open it and let the light in, and then you ferret out where you're going with that and what you're going to learn from it. That's the point,
Right. And you spoke before, Preston, about, that we're all empathetic. That is so true. It's just, I think different people have different levels of the intensity of it. But look at Peanut the squirrel. The universe went insane, when they put Peanut and the raccoon to sleep. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of some people who are sociopathic, they don't have empathy.
Absolutely. And Dolly, I had asked you last time we spoke if people were born without souls, and you said absolutely not. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You can't be alive unless you're operating with a soul. Okay, your consciousness. Consciousness is there at the moment of conception.
I may have chosen evil,
builds the body.
So,
consciousness programs the brain. You are who you are. You have a soul. Now, what you do with that afterwards is all up to you. Okay.
Well.
Now, there are different levels of understanding what can happen to a human being. One is medicine can destroy the mind, drugs, that kind of thing. You can have a physical fracture of the brain, and it caused that. Mental illness is a DNA thing, and your brain can configure incorrectly, and you're born to experience what mental illness is. That's your karma. Okay. And then there's learning-based mental illness, where you're growing up in a family where it's all around you, or you kicked out of it, and then you walk into field after field after field of more mental illness all around you, and you compound it by doing things that are very negative. We are on a ship here together, and there are different control aspects to your life. Now, one of the things that I can tell you positively is I've seen people with serious mental illness who are operating really well in this life and overcoming. And that's because they realize it doesn't matter what you have, it's what you do with it and how you respond. Okay. And somewhere in their life, they had somebody openly teach that to them, or they were born knowing it. Okay. And that was their karma as well. We all have a lot to figure out while we're here. We all have a lot to understand while we're here. And it's not just, you can't point your finger to this and say, that's it. No. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different karma and a reason to learn here. And you have to focus on what that is. That's why self-awareness is so important. Waking
Meditation
up.
will lead to the answer to that.
Yeah.
I wanted to clarify something about remote viewing, because when I first learned about it, and even when I watch videos today about it, they always describe it as a picture, like you're drawing. So you're having the session, and you're drawing this picture of a mountain and a cave, and it's never like a 3D kind of thing. Or
it eventually becomes one. It's the forest for the trees. First, you see the whole forest, and then you start to see all the details of the forest. You start to see the trees and what's in between the trees and everything. And you go 3D, 4D, 5D, 7D even. But when you're first starting out, it's going to come in that way. It's going to be an image, an outline of sorts. Some people see in color, some people see in black and white, but they automatically go to drawing the outward bounds of it, and then letting that clarity come. And that's where your consciousness is waking up, and you're seeing psychically much better and much better. And you're tuning into what that is. Your brain is got its own vibration. In other words, your brain transmits in its own frequency. Okay. And when you remote view, your frequency is going out there and seeing things. Well, everything else has its own frequency as well. So the frequency of the forest is its frequency with a lot of little signature frequencies in between. So what you're doing is you're tuning into that visually, cognitively, and you're dialing it up in your mind to see it. You're waiting for that image to completely come to you. You have to have patience. You have to have will, okay, to be aware enough to allow it to come in as it is, only as it is. In other words, you can't allow your physical mind to influence anything that you see, feel, hear, or do remotely, because you're outside of that. Okay. And you wait, you start drawing, and you draw the outlines of it, sometimes black and white, sometimes, oh, here's color, and you put the color in. Remote viewing doesn't happen like that. It just doesn't. I can't, well, I sort of can now, okay, but I've been doing this my whole life and I was trained, okay? But when you first start doing it, it's like watch an infant turn on the TV and watch them look at the thing and they're like this, and they're like trying to see it. They don't see all of it yet. They're not mentally
Right.
focusing on it. Well, that's the same thing with remote viewing. Your consciousness has to go out to where it's at and then report back to your mind, your physical mind, because your physical mind's involved in this. It's working together to see what that image is. And you have to train yourself to be able to focus on it, literally.
No, that's one of the things they train people about is try not to interpret what you're seeing, just report on it.
Right, exactly.
Which is why I think children make such great UFO witnesses. Because
Yeah.
they're not saying, this is an angel or this is a demon or this is whatever. Right. They're just saying, gosh, there was this little man and had this color. They don't overlay their own belief system. We automatically do that to every single thing we perceive.
Absolutely.
Some of the best remote viewers are artists by nature, okay, because they have learned to draw what they see, not what they think is there, okay?
Right.
Every artist who is an artist who's had any training whatsoever, the very first thing that they've commanded to do is not draw what you think is there, draw only what you see is there. The same thing with remote viewing. You're only going to put down or report back what you see, not what you think, literally.
Well, I'm going to just take a quick midway break announcement. For those of you just tuning in, you're listening to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled with our guests, Dolly and Preston, which I'm so grateful that they're here today. We are live on United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Thank you again for listening. Your support means everything. Preston, I wanted to touch on something you talked about now and in a previous conversation. You said that in your dreams, whether they're OBEs or no, I think they were maybe they were regular dreams too. That there was always this coin, right? This marker, a cue, right? What's the point of that? Because you also mentioned in a conversation that once you start OBEing, it's a good idea to tap like the wall or the counter to make sure that you're in this reality. Can you kind of go over that a little bit for folks?
Yeah, I think what this is all about is having a critical awareness, being able to critically think and observe and increase your awareness. Because the fact is we all are out of body every night, but it's so real. We never even consider the possibility that we're out of body. And it's the same thing with dreaming. Dreams are absolutely vivid. It doesn't even occur to you that you might be dreaming because it's so darn real. So what you want to do is test reality testing. And when you do this out of body, you have the ability to fly. You can walk through walls. You can do all kinds of things that you can't necessarily do. You probably can if you develop your abilities when you're awake. So when you're in the waking state, what you want to do is develop this habit of thinking and observing critically and trying to really look at reality and asking yourself this really silly question. Could I possibly be dreaming right now? Could this possibly be an out-of-body experience? Which sounds so absurd because when you're awake, you're awake. But that's the problem right there. That is the crucial problem. And this is such a good tool and it will work. If you can critically ask yourself 3 times a day, the more the better, but at least 3, right before you eat, right when you're going to the bathroom, something that you do regularly. I wonder if I'm dreaming right now. And you're going to think, well, this is silly because I know I'm not. But you have to test. You have to test it because the truth is you don't know. You may think you do, but you don't. So take your finger and try to push it through the wall. That's simple. Or try to jump up and fly, or take an object like a pen and throw it up into the air and see if it floats. And of course it doesn't because it turns out you are, in fact, in the 3rd dimension and you're not dreaming. And one day you're going to do that test and your arm is going to go right through the wall or your desk or the chair, or you're going to jump up and you're going to keep flying up and all the reality is going to fade away and you realize you're hovering over your body in your bedroom. And each dream, and I've said this before, and I don't know why this isn't more popularly known, does have an anomaly in it. That's the best way of putting it, an anomaly. Something that's not congruent to reality. And if you look at your dreams and look for these, you will see them, and it will wake you up. It will make you lucid instantly. And this is how you can enter, raise your awareness and start having out-of-body experiences. And it works really well. It's a great tool.
Why is it that, like, I'll ask some people, we'll talk about dreaming, and they go, I don't dream. I don't remember my dreams. If I have them, why is it some of us can have such vivid, colorful dreams and remember them, and other folks don't?
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Honestly, we all do. We all dream. There's no doubt about it.
The periphery of consciousness. It's literally the periphery of consciousness. Some people are hyper aware of everything that's going on in their lives. They tend to be a little bit more control freaky than other people, and so when they're asleep, they're remembering everything. They're more lucid, actually, for that reason.
Fully awake on the other side. You're fully conscious.
Yeah. But people who don't remember their dreams have a couple of reasons why they don't. One, they don't want to. And the other is that they are deeply, 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 almost like under anesthesia, asleep. And a lot of these people are often having oxygen problems when they're sleeping. They stop breathing a lot.
Or you're hyper focused on whatever it is you're experiencing. And if you're not having dreams, what I would recommend is sleep an extra hour, go to bed a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Wake up in the middle of the night, walk around a little bit, keep a dream journal. But when you wake up, and this is the best way, when you wake up, don't move. Don't roll over in bed. Don't do anything. Lie there and try to track down three things. Who was I just with? Where was I? And what was I doing?
Right.
And do that. And really, you should be able to go throughout your day and keep a running track of where you've been and what you were doing.
Right.
Like, think about yesterday. What did you have for breakfast yesterday? We kind of forget things.
Yeah.
You want to develop your memory because we all have eidetic memories, every single darn one of us, but you're not using it.
Correct.
People who are contactees often do have an eidetic memory. It's because they're going all interdimensionally. If you're having out-of-body experiences, you're probably developing your memory. Artists have a really good memory, musicians. So this is all interconnected. It's all about memory. Having out-of-body experiences, for sure, is deeply connected to your ability to simply remember.
That's such a good point. It's frustrating because some of the dreams that you have earlier to the morning, like, I'll remember them in such clarity. And it's the earlier dreams that tend to be elusive. Like, I see moments of them, sections of them, but
it's frustrating. I still go through that. In fact, I had an out-of-body experience this morning, which was a couple of hours long. And I remember about 5 or 10 minutes of it. Dolly was trying to pull it out of me, and she got some of it because I actually I went to go visit a healing temple. And I did it fully consciously because there are healing temples on the other side. And you can heal yourself of physical illness and bring energy and do all kinds of things. But I don't remember most of it. I could not bring it back. I had most of it when I woke up. I'm like, okay, this is going to be easy. But as I walked out, it's like I walked out of it, kind of.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. Especially the good ones. Like, you have these really great lucid dreams. And, you want to remember them in such detail. And then, like you said, they just kind of fade off into the distance. What about you, Dolly? Do you have, well, I'm sure you do, have out-of-body experiences? Are they nightly? What's your experience?
Every night. Always, yeah. I don't ever, never not OBE. And,
that was confusing though. You don't ever, never not?
I always the OBE. I choose when I go and when I come. Sometimes I'll be exhausted when I lay down to go to sleep, and I'll let myself have that 1 to 2 hours of body healing time, and then I'll get up and walk around, because now I'm awake, and so I'll either read, listen to something, I'll decide to OBE at that point, but it's always conscious. I deliberately do stuff. Then wee hours of the morning is when I try to sleep again. And it's weird because Preston OBE is better in the morning than he is earlier in the night. Now I'm an all-nighter, okay? But early in the morning, I want 30 more minutes of out time. And he's like, you know, having a good time. And he'll come see me every day and everything. And it's like, oh, God. And so, yeah, I'll pay attention to him. I'll come OB a couple times. I'll be dead asleep. And then suddenly I wake up and he's standing right there. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know, what? You know, and he'll want me to come out and go out with him. By the way, just so y'all know, I have to sleep in my own abode. I can't let anybody in with me because for me to OBE safely for myself, to feel good about it, I have to be in my own abode. So we have our own rooms this way. It's important because Preston's like I am. He has to OBE physically safe. And if I'm moving around or snoring or something, it's going to drive him crazy and vice versa. You know, he flinches a lot in his sleep. So it's like, okay, fine. So we have our own abodes. And so he'll pop out and come find me. Sometimes I go find him. Sometimes he's wandering around the house and I'll get up and follow him. You know, what are you doing? You know, hey. And but a lot of times he's got agendas and he's going places and doing things and having a good time, you know, which is normal. You're supposed to.
It works much better. Yeah. If you have a plan, it works. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. If you want, if you're a beginning OBEer, just say, tonight, I want to go learn about a past life. And you'll more than likely be successful if you focus on that every night. It shouldn't take you more than a week or two. And you might come across as a dream, but it might not. Either way, you're actually learning something about yourself. So it's a really good way to begin doing OBEs.
Yeah.
Or remote viewing for that matter.
Just have that intention, Preston, is enough, and just keep doing it every night. I know in your book, you have a detailed methodology of like what you need to do to OBE, which is really very helpful. But do folks need to meditate beforehand, before they go to bed, or is that not advisable?
It's advisable. You don't need to, but it's super good advice.
It teaches you to let go of the body. It teaches you to relax your body to the point that it's not a thing for you anymore. You're not really feeling it anymore. You're above it. Okay. You're already half out at that point. Meditation helps you to calm, relax, focus, lose the thoughts in your mind of whatever the hell your brain is thinking and let go of it so that you can do that. Buddha used to like to tell everybody, put all your problems in your hand, close it up, turn it over and let go. And he taught that toward meditation. He would say, you have to let go of everything. Let it go. So that's a practice, a mental practice that you can do. Like meditation is a mental practice. Yes. It's getting you to calm down, get comfortable, relaxed so that you reach the vibratory state so that you go, okay, I'm free, and you go. That's important.
Maybe either one of, I've never mentioned this before, but I'm going to ask either one of you, maybe if you have some feedback on it. I was probably in my early 20s. I decided to take TM, Transcendental Meditation, and it was going great. I went to session after session, and I started really, like every day, 20 minutes, getting really into it. And then one day I was meditating, and I was really probably the deepest I've been, where you almost don't hear your own thoughts anymore.
Exactly.
And then I felt this, I don't want to call it an entity, but it was something next to me, and it wasn't good. And it scared me so much that I jumped up off the couch, and I just didn't meditate for years after that. Can you open yourself up to not so good things while you're meditating?
No, I'll tell you what it was.
Yeah.
I have my ideas about it. Yeah.
Yeah. You literally are awake. Okay. I'm so awake that I see everything all around me. If you're an entity and you're in the room with me, I can see you. I know you're there. Okay. I can communicate with you. When you were down to that low state, you were wide open awake at that point. You're outreaching. You're almost out of your body at that point. What you felt was an entity next to you. You've been taught to fear so much, everything that you don't understand, that something that was probably innocuous and loved you was like, hey, she's coming out. Okay, just let it go. You can't be hurt by anybody or anything. I'm promising you that. Nobody I know has ever died being attacked while they're being meditating. Not at all. Okay. Nah, doesn't happen. Not no. And if you've heard of something like that, they're lying to you to make you afraid of it. They don't want you to do it. So no, you probably had somebody who loved you, was sitting there watching you. And when they realized you were out, it was getting excited. And what you don't know is there, what you're not perceiving yet or wholly seeing. Remember we're talking about remote viewing? If you don't have the total picture, you're taught to fear everything. You don't know what it is.
Gosh,
and it's the dog out of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Fear is a big obstacle in learning astral projection. There's a huge fear barrier. For some weird reason, I didn't have a whole lot of problems with it, but a lot of people do. Mine was excitement, but it's emotion. But when you're in deep meditation and suddenly you've pulled off those barriers and now you're seeing a lot more than you did, you can start to see things. And the fact is the third dimension is very close to what we would call the hellish realms. And yes, there are bad entities out there.
Yeah.
And they don't have your best interest in mind, but no, they can't hurt you. But you can perceive them. And also, frankly, we ourselves are multidimensional beings who had past lives where we didn't do good things sometimes. And we have an evil part of ourselves is what I'm trying to say, that we have to face sometimes. And sometimes that's what you're seeing is your own aspect of your own personality. Like, okay, well, this is a part I left behind. That's, now I'm moving towards good. But this is just something to consider as a possibility. But yeah, there are
it took me a long time. Yeah, it took me a long time to like get over that fear, and it never happened again after that. So it was it was a good thing.
I once did that out of body. I'm like, okay, I want to see a past life where I was a bad person. This person came and looked at me, who was an aspect of me and was not okay. It scared the living daylights out of me, and I never did that again. Were
you in an OBE state? Were you doing an out of body thing, or
this was just a meditation? It was remote viewing, really. Is what
consciousness will cough up the truth of who you are to you. You understand that, right? It can replay any aspect of your entire existence to you because it's you. It's like a memory you draw up on a memory, and when you see it in 3D, you go, "Oh, okay, thank you." It's weird. Everybody does that. People who say that they remember their past lives are remembering as if they have a real memory, and it's their consciousness playing it to their physical mind. This is who you are. This is what you did. You wanted to know. Here it is. Yeah. It's you.
I did once have a spirit lay hands on me in not a good way. I mean, it wasn't painful, but I'm like, huh. And I woke up and I could feel someone groping me. I'm like, well, anyone else would think this was a demonic attack. But I kind of understood that this was just a spirit, and like they're trying.
Just wanted to be near him, yeah.
But
they'll touch you.
Yeah, Dolly, you said that nobody could hurt you,
right?
But what about people that, like Tucker Carlson just came out, and I don't know if you guys heard.
Yeah, I did.
And he had a demonic attack, and he woke up with scratches and all sorts of things that were nasty.
You physically scratch yourself. You don't realize you're doing it. They've had people on camera. They don't tell you the truth about that. They've spent years and years and years and years medically studying people who are demonically attacked, and they have them under 24-hour surveillance. They are not being scratched by something else. They're scratching themselves.
I don't agree, actually.
I can show you proof. It's in the medical.
Well, we can discuss it.
When you go to medical school, I'm telling you, they show this stuff. It's true. What they don't tell you is they don't want you to know this stuff because they think human beings are stupid, or they want you to remain stupid and vile and non-understanding. Because if you develop your abilities and you become everything you're supposed to be, they become obsolete to you. It's like big pharma. Psychologists want you to stay sick. I don't care who you are, where you're going to.
That's true.
It is absolute fact. And they have spent thousands and thousands of dollars studying all this stuff, and they do not tell the truth. And they put lies and BS out there to terrify you and keep you mentally ill for them. They give you drugs to keep you mentally ill. I'm very opinionated about this. The one thing about the human brain that I can tell you that I've learned physically, emotionally, in school, all of it, is that our brains are little computers that will garbage in, garbage out, good in, good out. Okay, they're programmable. And the one thing that makes us that way highly, physically, biologically, is that we're habitual. All computers are habitual. If you give it an info loop, it'll stay in that info loop habitually until you stop it. Okay. That's how we make ourselves better mentally. We realize that everything we do has a habit attached to it, and we need to identify that, how it got there, and why we're going to fix it. That's how you develop, you help people cure themselves. You can't be cured by anybody, and anybody who keeps you in therapy for more than a couple of months is raping you of your finances. Don't do it. That's the most important thing. Now, there are people who are mentally or physically mentally ill, like, schizophrenics and stuff. That's a brain problem, and it causes that to happen. But they know the difference, and that's not really curable. It is treatable, and they do that. But most of them are on the streets. Why? Because they can't make money off them like they can everybody else. See what I'm saying?
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yes, absolutely. And I've seen film after film after film of this actual phenomenon going on, and they're pulling their skin off, biting their arms, tearing their skin. I mean, it's insane to me. And then they come to, and oh no, a demon did it. A demon did this to me. And they'll convince everybody that it's true, but it's not. They did it to themselves.
Every that's true in some cases, but I don't think that's true in all.
I want you to prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I dare you to prove me wrong. There is no film of anybody ever being ripped to shreds. There is not.
There are films of people. There are spirits that
produce
hostile, that have put people down the stairs. There's a big long history of tradition of people who have bite marks and scratches. And if you go to look at some,
the bite marks, if you take a cast of the teeth and you put it up against the bite mark, it's them biting themselves. There's no film of that. None.
Yes, there is. None. There absolutely is.
Tell me one.
People have had scratches on their backs where they cannot reach. It is very well verified.
It actually
does happen.
No,
do push people downstairs.
I'm going to defy you. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to tell you you're wrong until you prove it to me. If you think you're so right, prove it to me.
Yeah, well,
and I'll prove to you what I've got, because I do have proof.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. I'm trying to tell people that this is what I've learned, and you may disagree. That's fine.
No, because you can't prove yourself right or
wrong.
Yes,
I can.
Then prove it to me.
Absolutely. I will show you pictures
of my presence without proving it to me first.
Yeah, well,
if you're going to prove, if you want them to believe in this,
Dolly, I'm allowed to disagree because this is
what you are. But I'm allowed to challenge you as well.
Yeah, and I'm allowed to finish my thought.
Sure, you are.
Okay.
You did 10 times.
No, you're not letting me. What I'm saying is that evil spirits do exist. There are cases of people who've been pushed downstairs. This is not them doing that to themselves. There are cases of people who've been scratched and bitten. I don't think this is them doing it to themselves. There are cases reaching back hundreds of years. Yes, I think what you're describing does happen, but I'm not willing to say that all of this is the person doing that to themselves.
I'll tell you a secret.
There are bad spirits that do exist that do attack
and when
people.
you work with them and you get them to the point where did you get touched and you reacted badly and that's why you fell, and they finally come to it and realize, yeah, I did. I threw myself down the stairs trying to get away from them. They weren't pushed. They were intimidated. There's a difference. There's a huge difference. We have to understand that we're physically in control of ourselves, and nothing can physically overcome you on this planet, in this earth, in any way, unless they take a knife and stab you or physically come at you. No spirit or entity has that power of control over you. They can make you feel like you're being touched, and it will shove you emotionally off the stairs. That does happen, but you won't.
And there are cases of people who pulled. I interviewed a lady at work who was about to step off the street. Something grabbed her and pulled her back, and a truck came and got her. Spirits do have the ability to affect the physical environment.
That was something else other than a spirit. Literally, that was a light being, and we have them around us constantly, and that can happen. They have the ability to pull us back physically, but they are in helping us, not hurting us. They wouldn't dare scratch you if anything happened to it. Every time, you have to understand the depth of fear in humanity. Okay. And if you're walking down the street or you're at the top of your stairs and you feel something brush you or touch you, you are going to freak I'm not even going to use the terminology. You're going to freak out. And most people, and I'm telling you, everyone, even in emergency rooms, when they come in and they say, well, it's something attacked me, a demon, and you're talking to them and you're working it out with them, and you say, give it to me point by point by point. What exactly happened to you? And they start doing it, and you realize, and they do at that moment, that they physically commanded their body to move away from the touch. That's all it is. They felt them physically, psychically felt the touch, and they went, and they fell off. That's always the way it is. After years of being in an emergency room nursing, years of watching it on films and everything else, I'm telling you that we control ourselves. And if you can't come to that understanding that you have that ability and that power, you're in a lot of trouble, because
Dolly,
you're going to blame everything else but how you're reacting to it. And that's the number one cause of all our problems. We don't react in a rational way. We don't think it through. We automatically go to the fear. We automatically go to the horror. We automatically go to the spaz out. We have to stop doing that, because as long as you're doing that, you will never master yourself, ever, not once.
Fear is a big obstacle, that's for sure.
Yeah.
How do you explain possessions, people that are demonically possessed and they have crosses drawn on their body, you know, their cuts and bruises,
nobody has proof that the person that has that manifestation didn't do it to themselves. That's the point. There's no evidence in any record, anywhere, at any time, any place on this earth where they didn't do it to themselves or had somebody else do it to them physically.
Well, there are priests that testify to the truth of it.
You understand that they're priests, and they're mentally geared to push that agenda. They're taught to believe that way, and their belief allows that stupid superstition to mask what they're actually thinking. They have no science behind them whatsoever. They have no proof behind them whatsoever, and you cannot do it. That's why they went to a lot of trouble for years of keeping people under surveillance and watching it happen. And the fact is that we do it to ourselves. That's what happens. People say, oh, I have this. Look, look, look. And you don't realize that they actually did it to themselves. Okay. I don't have any pockmarks or gashes or anything like that on my body. No ET has ever done that to me, ever. And yet I know for a fact that they don't do it to anybody. But people show up with this stuff, and I'm sitting there thinking, why would you have to have that kind of proof? Why would you do that to yourself to prove something that you can't prove otherwise? There's other ways of proving contact, not that. Okay, we're the most abusers of our bodies and our mental attitudes and our reactions to everything there is. And that is the truth. And
so you don't believe that the demonic, you don't believe that the demonic realm could have demons in it that are powerful enough to inflict.
I'll tell you what, I've seen one demon type thing in my entire life, and I almost murdered it myself. I was coming home in the middle of the night. You know what what are those things? A gargoyle. Okay, this was a live, honest to God, real gargoyle. I was in my truck, I was coming home from the base. It's 2:00 in the morning. It's raining. It's very dark. No moon, nothing. And I had RJ Reynolds lived down the mountain from me. And he had one light pole in front of his property in this great big giant tree. And I slow down when I see that tree because it's, you know, falling nuts in the autumn and stuff like that. It wanted to crack my windshield. And as I went under it, I saw this big black thing sitting up on one of the branches. And I'm thinking, what the hell is that? You know? And the closer I got, it jumped off the branch, slammed into my windshield with claws. It went down my windshield. There was proof. There was claw marks on it. Slid down the hood of my car because it was wet and fell down in front. Well, guess what I did? I punched the gas. It's like, no, because it was a gargoyle with little gargoyle wings and everything. But it was big. It probably weighed 80 pounds. That's how big it was. And I just ran it over. I went home, sat on my front porch. Got out of my BDUs, sat on my front porch with my shotgun, and just rocked for about 3 hours waiting for it. If you're coming for me, man, I'm gonna get you. Because if you're physical, I will take you out. No problem if you're that bad. And I thought, what the hell? Why did that show up in my life? And the only thing I can think of is that maybe it just wanted my attention, or maybe it wanted to prove to me that they're real. They are real. Some of them, there are real physical demons walking around here that you don't know what they are. And, you know, cryptids, that kind of thing, that can be evil. Some of them are evil. They had big red eyes and everything. I mean, I didn't dream that. I went out and saw the truck the next day, and I had claw marks down the windshield. And you know, I was like, well, and we took pictures of it. I got them somewhere, and, you know, everybody in my house could tell you. I was like, no, you ain't coming to my house. That's how I reacted to it. I didn't try to figure it out. I didn't try to help it or anything. If you're dumb enough to jump out of a tree onto my windshield, you're going to get run over because I won't play with you. And I did. I ran it over. I don't know if I killed it. I don't know if it was laying flat because the truck was pretty high up off the ground. Maybe I just went over it and it waited for me to go by. But, you know, never again saw one. And after that, my intention after that was nothing like that is ever going to cross my path again. It's not allowed. Go away. And nothing like that has ever done it again.
Yeah.
And the only reason I could think of that it was there, it was a bad, no good, very bad day on base. Things were happening. It was during the war. And I think something, I was wide open to having those kinds of feelings. And I think that's why it showed up.
Yeah, could be.
But I don't need to understand it to know that it's evil and needs to stay the hell away from me. And don't touch me because I'll fight back. That's how it is. We're taught why do people go to haunted mansions? Why do people watch horror flicks? What do you think you're accomplishing when you do that? You're laying yourself wide open to any negative BS that's coming your way. It affects you. It mentally, your physical mind can't deal with it. It shouldn't be programmed with that. And if you keep programming yourself with that evil, low base stuff, you're laying yourself wide open for anything to happen to you. And what you're doing is you're taking away your ability to fight back against it. Half the people, tell me, oh no, I'm ready for that stuff. No, you're not. You've been watching it. You expect it to happen. What are you going to do?
Well, people like to be scared. I mean, they like to be scared. That's why we go on rides and we're thrilled.
Not normal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That's a habit, an unbelievably wrong habit to have. If you want to ascend, you want to see the upper realms, if you want to OBE, if you want to open your consciousness and hear the world and the universe talking to you, you can't be having that base negative gunk going on in your body. It's like poisoning yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? You're poisoning your mind when you do that. We poison ourselves 1,000 different ways. Okay. We allow the government to poison our water. We allow them to poison our food. We allow them to do, well, why? Why are you doing that? Fight back.
Yeah. Preston, have you ever gone on, because I know you have an interest in the paranormal, right, as well, and you do research on that. Have you been to haunted places? Have you done investigations of your own, aside from, your MUFON stuff? Have you done any of that or an interest in that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Tell us about it.
I went to the Queen Mary and did the ghost tour. And that was definitely very ghostly. I've been to a number of very haunted locations. I have firsthand interviewed people who had their ghostly encounters and went to their homes and researched it that way. I've been poked by a ghost. I've had one pull my hair. I've heard things. I went to a lady who did table tipping, which is very much like a Ouija board. It's essentially the same thing. And that was really cool, because I was approaching it very scientifically and objectively, because there were all these people around this little table. I'm like, well, it looks like they're tipping it themselves. And so I couldn't wait for my turn. And there was 4 of us, and it was going and rocking. I'm like, okay, would you guys mind if just me and the medium did it? I'm like, sure. And so it was still rocking. And she had 2 hands on it, and I had 2 hands. And finally, I told her, could you just put 1 hand on it? This table still will go up both sides. I'm like, just put 1 finger on it. She lightly pressed her finger on it. Table went right up. It was very cool. And at one point, I'm like, just, let me try it by myself. I couldn't get it to go up, but that table shook. I knew right then and there, this is absolutely 100% valid. But there was some fallout. She did have a fire start mysteriously in her kitchen. She had weird clicking noises moving through her house. I did this numerous times. I was leaving one day and something hit my car and tried to push it off the road. There are, some hostile spirits out there. And if you do this kind of thing, she always did a clearing episode, whole meditation before and afterwards.
Yeah.
But she eventually stopped doing it because she was having some trouble. Because, there's, OBEs are safe, 100%. I don't think there's any danger of possession. I really don't. You have spirit guides, you have your silver cord, it'll draw you back. Yeah. But if you're messing around doing stuff that you don't fully understand, you can run into hostile entities for sure. And I do think there's a possibility that
I want to make a point.
A little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I would like to make a point. I can affect matter. Okay, I'm able to punch walls, slam doors, stomp my foot.
Do it.
Yeah, I can physically levitate, things like that. Okay, that's a power that I have. Every human being on this planet has the same ability. You're not immune to it. You have it. And it will come out sometimes during emotional moments, especially young children. They'll get mad at you and then stuff will fly around the house. Okay.
That's very well verified.
Yeah.
When I say that evil lives here, I'm not joking. It's among all of us. Your DNA is rampant with it. okay? And we act out, we have temper tantrums, and we're able to physically affect matter, okay? Pushing somebody down the stairs is a big deal. I have never done that. I've never tried to do it. I tried to push my brother once to see if he'd land on his butt, and I wasn't able to. I went right through him. Something stopped me from having that physicality over him. I don't know if it was because I'm just basically trying not to hurt anything on purpose. I was just conducting an experiment and was going to let me have it or whatever. But it's all up to me whether that happens or not as well. Okay. I know that spirit, your spirit, my spirit, everybody's spirit can physically affect one another. In other words, I've shown up to Preston's house when he was living in LA, and I stomped this floor because I wanted his attention. Okay. Things happen to me. Spirits take my keys, they take my glasses, they'll disappear them on me and then show them back up. Preston knows this. He's actually seen it happen. Okay. Where it wasn't there. We both knew it wasn't there. It came back. Okay. That can happen. But they don't have nothing in the third dimension has the psychic ability to physically harm you in any way, because you are an entity too with enough power to push against it. Right. So when I say you're allowing that to happen with your fear, I'm not joking around. It is you absolutely giving it permission to happen. That's where this all comes into play. Possession is you giving permission for that entity to mess with you in a way you don't want it to mess with you. And it's a cooperation of energies between one another to no good end whatsoever. The younger you are that this happens to you, the worse it is. And the horror is we teach our children to be afraid from a very, very early age. So if you're wondering why people get possessed, there you go. And what we need to teach one another is that this doesn't happen if you don't let it. This doesn't occur if you're in command of yourself. This doesn't occur at all. If you understand what everything is from a very early age, then you know better. It won't happen to you. People who walk around and say that I can touch you and all this other kind of stuff, you can believe that all day long, but as long as I don't want you to, it's not going to happen, period. And I'm not afraid of you, okay? That's how that works. We take vengeance and violence to abilities where we act out with no concern of anybody else, no empathy whatsoever, and we physically start destroying one another when we don't realize that we're doing it psychically as well, okay? Please put those two concepts together because they exist in the same place. And anything that happens to you, poking, touching, whatever, you've put yourself in the place for that to occur. Even when you go to a haunting, you allow these things to occur to you. That's the point. That's how positive, and that I know this because I'm capable of it. I know what I can do with it. And I've never, ever designed to hurt anyone. I tried to push my brother once and I learned rapidly, oh, no. It comes back on you because whatever you do to somebody else comes right back on you. That energy reverberates, okay? It gets you eventually or hurts you now and you don't realize it until later. We all have to take accountability for this stuff, okay? We got to quit blaming everything for everything that happens to us. We have to be in control of ourselves. We have to be aware enough to understand that we're just as capable of this stuff as everything else and not say, oh, this did it to me. No, you allowed it. You let it happen. That's how accountable and truthful we have to be with one another, period. And if you focus on the horror of what that is, you're allowing it. Okay? It's not funny. This is real. You're capable of having that occur to you just by thinking about it and allowing that idea into your head. That's how serious.
We agree to all our experiences from a very high spiritual perspective. I 100% believe that to be true. People are like, why is there so much suffering on Earth? This is something, we don't have to suffer to learn. I don't believe that that's true, but we do choose it. We absolutely chose this life here on this planet and knew that it was going to be difficult at times.
Right.
And that it's a way to learn. We can learn from people who are evil or evil entities.
But don't we learn some of our, most profound lessons through suffering? I mean, that's
there's
been my
difference between evil and suffering. I'm sorry, there is. Okay, suffering has nothing to do with evil.
I was referring to what Preston was saying, that you don't have to
Well, the
suffer to
simplest
learn.
form of that is if there's a fire and I stick my hand in, it's going to burn me. It's going to hurt. I'm never doing that again. I'm not
Right,
stupid. Okay.
right.
So, yeah, suffering can teach you many things. People who have cancer or broken bones or smashed bodies or whatever are learning something profound. And there is in the lesson of that, and I can speak to this personally, is that it's how you're responding to that pain that is infinitely the lesson. Okay. You can either respond to it by woe is me, or you can
Right.
respond to it by I'm getting on the other side of
Right.
this one way or the other. I'm fixing this. Okay. That's what we're here to do, to realize that we have strength. Your strength, your ability is all key here. And you're taught here what you're capable of. It's the biggest proving ground there is in the third dimension, period. Okay. And what makes you wise is understanding what that really is. Right. So suffering, if you suffer on purpose, well, that's your choice. You chose, and how you respond to that choice is infinitely more important than if it just happened to you, if it came out of nowhere. Okay. I mean, if I choose to trample my own hand or stick a nail through my hand and that really hurts, and I've learned that lesson, what have I really learned? That I'm capable of sticking a nail through my hand and hurting really bad. But what do I get out of it? Self-mutilation is not a thing. There's not a real lesson in there. You're lowering your wisdom there. Don't do it in the first place. You should have known better in the first place. Humans are born with an innate instinct to survive and to be preservatory to our bodies and ourselves, right? Okay, don't deliberately go hurt yourself is a dumb thing to do. That's not a lesson I would want to learn in any lifetime. Don't do it.
No, of course not. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens to us that we don't want or plan on. And
right. And those are genuine lessons that come at you, and they usually come out of nowhere. And how you respond to it is key, absolutely key. One of the worst things that ever happened to me is my brother and I were playing chicken on the bikes, okay, on asphalt. Neither one of us chickened out, and I weighed more than he did, and I went sliding down the road on my left side. I'm left-handed, oh joy, and it took me out from my nose to my toes. I mean, skinned myself really good. I remember my mother coming in the room and saying, "There's not a lot we can do for you." They were pouring saline on me. She had a fan in the room. And back in those days, in the early 60s, they didn't know how the heck to stop that kind of pain. They didn't know that there was putting a gel, on your skin and stuff like that to take the heat out of it and give you an aspirin to help your body deal with it. So I laid there probably for 2 straight days in abject agony. I complained to no one. I didn't get mad. I deserved what I got. And I learned that was a stupid, foolish thing that I did. And this didn't happen to me out of nowhere. I got what I deserved. Okay. And I learned that pain was never going to be forgotten by me for my life. And that I would consider everything I did physically after that. That if you're going to walk into a trap, do it knowingly, not unknowingly. And I knowingly walked into that one. And that's not a good thing to do. And I didn't blame anybody but me. And I felt bad.
Accident though, Dolly? I mean, you didn't plan for that to happen. I don't think
Yes, I did plan for that to happen. I knew I was on asphalt. I'm an intelligent human being. I knew what that would do to me. I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, a tank top. Okay, that's why it took most of me out. My little brother, I was responsible for him. We were playing hooky from school that day. Wrong number 2. My mother went to the store with him, said, "I'm coming back." I was responsible for him. Guess what we did? We went out and played hooky on the bikes, playing chicken. My fault again. So I was beating myself up all over the place, realizing that I made very poor choices, and it didn't happen out of anywhere. This wasn't an accident. It was planned, and I should have known better.
Yeah, accidents are kind of a misnomer. In fact, police officers, they stopped calling them accidents. They call them collisions.
Yes.
There's a series of events that lead up to it. The Titanic sinking was foreseeable. If there was a series of unfortunate events, do we call it an accident? Yeah, we call it an accident, but there's sort of a misconception about what an accident actually is. On some level, we have forethought.
Permission.
We're totally aware of it. When we're like, boy, that was unfortunate, but is it absolutely unforeseeable? Probably not.
Oh my goodness, I'm kind of like freaking out about that, because about 4 weeks ago, I was making my bed and my foot got tangled up in a sheet. Long story short, I ended up tripping backwards and my side hit a piece of furniture and I broke a rib. And it was misery for weeks. So was that not an accident? Was that
I don't
something
know.
I
Did you
did?
learn anything from it?
No, you had to be very mindful of the fact that you were in close quarters. That's the point. Know where your body is and what it's doing at all times.
Yeah.
They're saying
We
that
sometimes
ET
choose
has, yeah,
things that
right,
might seem like, boy, would I ever choose this? But you
yeah.
can actually learn from these events.
Yeah, it teaches you to be fully aware. Awareness comes in many different forms, and you have to learn to be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
ET taught me this, and so did my dad. My dad was an airborne ranger, and he learned it the hard way. Okay, they taught it me the easy way. Know all that is knowable, and then proceed. So I know if I'm going to my room and I got close quarters making a bed, and I can trip, I'm going to watch every step I make while I make that bloody bed. I'm not going to be thinking about 200 things or letting what Sally said the other day piss me off while I'm making the bed. That's mindfulness, and that's part of awareness.
That's so true, Dolly, because it's like my sister's always telling me, be situationally aware, like, especially when we're out in New York City or something.
Yeah.
She's like, she's got her radar 360. But after I got up, I knew I broke my rib. And the very first thing I said was, okay, universe, what lesson is there for me to learn today? I was like, because I don't get it. Like, there's no lesson here. But over the weeks, you do discover that there's a lesson in there.
Right. Which rib, on the right or the left?
Right. It was the 12th one, the 12th rib.
Sometimes it might be you just saying, you know what, I'm working too hard. I need to lay down and take a break.
Yeah. 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 I'll tell you who's emotionally and situationally aware of everything he does, and that's Preston. He more than I ever thought of being.
I've never broken a bone.
Never, not in his life. Oh, I've broken every bone I got. Okay. Oh, yeah. There's no move he makes or anything that he does deliberately does that hasn't been carefully thought out, or he's working on it as he's doing it. He's mindfully aware of 100% of the time. I wish I was as aware as he is. That's one of the awareness factor on him that is out there. It's like, God, I could only be that good. Seriously.
Wow.
The dumbest thing I ever did was I was twirling. I did a twirl with socks on my feet on a carpet. Do you know how stupid that was? Guess what I did? I broke my shoulder. I started doing my rotator cuff, and I was like, "Well, crap,"
When was that, Dolly? How old were you when you did that?
About a year and a half ago.
Oh my goodness!
Yep. Stupid old me. I knew better, and I did it.
I got some questions in from chat. I see these good questions.
Go ahead. Let's go for it. We have like 9 minutes left.
Yeah, that's why here's one from Leah, which I think is a good question. Do animals leave their body even though they know imminent pain or death is happening? Yes. And this is true for people. There's a study of people who've fallen off cliffs and survived. A good number of them went out of their body before they hit the ground and came back. Wow. And I think this is something we see with a lot of people in car accidents. We're saying, gosh, everything seemed to move in slow motion. This is you starting to dissociate.
Yep.
So
You're leaving the body. You're getting ready to tank. Bye. You're not going to hang around for that. Not at all. Yeah.
All right. Can I bring out some more questions?
Oh, go for it, Preston.
Cool. All right. Because I like this one too, from Andrew Rollins. I'm a ball of light instead of having an astral body when traveling to meet with glowing Nordic-looking beings. But once I get there, I have the light body or astral body. That's because our true form is actually light. Dolly's talked quite a bit about this, but we can assume any form you want, especially when you're astral.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're out of body, you can assume anything you want. Yeah. You show off the way you want to be seen is what it is. If you're trying to communicate with somebody you don't necessarily want them to see as your ball of light, you'll show them, whatever form you want to be in. All
right. Here's another one, which I think we already answered. Which is considered more difficult, remote viewing or OBE? I don't know.
OBE. It's harder. It was so easy for me to come out. Yeah, I just mentally walk out, no problem. OBE took me. I was almost dreaming when I first started to OBE, and I had nobody to teach me that. Nobody. I was a little kid, and I was flying around in my dreams. And then one night, I was standing on the street outside our house, and I thought, "This looks really too real to me," But I feel like it could fly, and this astral wind came, and I tilted my head up, and boop, I went up, and I thought, I'm doing this. This is real. It's happening. And I proved it to myself because I went somewhere and saw something and then went back to it a day or two later, and that was there just exactly how I saw it. I was about 4 or 5 years old, maybe 6, and I thought, oh my God, I'm doing this. But yeah, you start when you're real little, you're dreaming it until you realize you're doing it. And people talk about, oh, I flew, I flew, I flew. Yeah, you did. You were OBE, boy. You
It's
were young at
connected
it,
to
natural
levitation, too.
ability.
A lot
But
of
it's
people,
harder if you wait till an adult to master it. That's why it's harder. So
yeah, I agree. All right, here is another one, which is kind of interesting from Catmaster Trass. Anyone have the dream of a past loved one? They don't speak, but you feel and often wake up in tears. That's a visitation. Yeah, I've had a lot of that where, deceased loved ones, they're not talking, but I think they are, and I'm just not picking up. It's very telepathic. Communication is different on the other side.
yes.
Okay, here's one from AAO. And Dolly, probably you can talk better about this than me. If you are taken from your room in the middle of the night by ETs, not by your own will, is that an abduction or out-of-body experience abduction? I'm so confused.
Oh.
It's neither, right?
No, it's neither. You're not out of body. You're physically going with them, and you are you have been in contact with them and have already given permission psychically to be going with them. People got to understand that. That's one thing I tell you. If you don't want ET to bother you, tell them no, and they'll leave you alone. You're giving permission for that contact. It is not an abduction. They already got permission from you.
Yeah,
so.
I've never been pulled out of body involuntarily.
Right.
It can happen spontaneously and feel like you didn't ask for it.
Right, but no.
I know there are people who've had out-of-body experiences and they're like, I can't control this. What's happening to me? And feel like it's involuntary. But that ability woke up in you, and it's very scary for people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
Well, we've got like 4 minutes left. We could do one more question.
All right. I'll pop this one up. Robin M. Have you discussed the silver cord during sleep? Yeah, we all have a silver cord. When we're doing astral projection, you can sometimes see it. Not everyone does. Astral projection is a misnomer because we're actually projecting down here to the third dimension from source where we live and will go live. So the silver cord is what connects us energetically to source. And this is what makes astral projection so safe.
Both ways. Yeah. It's source. You come down and you anchor to your heart. There's a node in your heart where the electrical activity is holding you to your body. Okay. And when you astral project, it gets longer and longer and longer. You can go for periods of time and it's still with you because it's still in source. You're taking it with you, but it's still anchored to your heart as well. It's a trine. It's what it is. You see part of it, but it's really a trine. You're in source, you're anchored to your body, and then you're out. So it's a trine. That's why the number 3 is so big when you're discussing the mathematics of all of this. Trines are huge.
Look on my YouTube channel, Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Preston and I had an OBE whole 2-hour conversation, and he talked a lot about the cord and your experience with that. That was really very interesting. So your ethereal body is anchored in your physicality. Okay, it doesn't come out until you die, and your cord detaches and it goes with you with your cord. It pulls you out. Okay, a lot of people think that there are 3 energy bodies. The energy bodies are source is an energy body, and we're in it. We're an energy body, and then you have an ethereal energy body where you can plant yourself in the 3rd dimension or other dimensions and be physical. Okay, people who live in like the 5th and the 6th dimensions are non-corporeal, so they're not anchoring to a physicality. They're anchoring their ethereal body is actually there in that dimension, and it's anchoring them there then that way. So. Okay, folks, we're gonna have to wrap it up. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. You've been listening to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Thank you guys so much. I could sit here for another 2 hours talking to you guys. It's just it's always amazing to me, and I'm sure everyone else feels the same way. And I hope and pray that I can have both of you back on again.
Oh, absolutely. You got to come and visit us too. Absolutely.
I would love that. God bless. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, all. Thank you so much.